Hello, everyone. Welcome to our live video. I'm going to confirm we're live, Lotta. But I'm here with an amazing founder today, entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, visionary, and someone that you could learn a lot from, especially if you're in business, an entrepreneur yourself, or if you're a tech startup founder. So today I'm going to be interviewing Vlada Lakina. She is an exited founder. She exited at 8 figures from ClassTag, which is a communication software for education. Is that how you would call it, Vlada?
Yeah, in simplest terms, yes.
Yes. So she basically helps schools communicate with parents about all of the notifications and stuff, which I had to deal with this morning because today was graduation day. So I could totally see the value of that. And she's building her next business now, which is a startup accelerator, Elevator Lab. And we're going to be talking about the critical things that you need to learn if you're a startup founder in 2024 who wants to definitely surpass 10K plus a month MRR, but definitely over 100K plus MRR within the next 12 months. So, Vlada, it's nice to see you today.
Great to be with you. And
Yeah.
your
So, where are you located? Tell them where you're located.
Yes, I'm located in sunny Miami, not too far away from Chennai.
And we'll be in person soon. In June, we'll
Yeah.
do a couple of things in person, and the team will actually be here too. Um, so what are okay? Let's back up, Lada. Talk a little bit about your exit, what that experience was like, and how the next day you immediately started Elevator Lab, because I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as a first time startup founder, I imagine this journey to be, you start from this initial enthusiasm about the problem and how people really need this solution to exist. And you are the one to create that solution. And then you go through some challenges, which, now thankfully there is a lot of talk that founder journey is really, really hard. So I imagine there would be some challenges. And then you sort of go and skyrocket to success, which of course we know only happens to a small fraction. But that aside, that's how I imagine the journey. In reality, the journey was really different. And the journey was a constant, oh my God, we nailed it, to, oh my God, what do I do now? Like we are, not going to make it. Right. And so it continues on a daily basis, pretty much throughout the journey. The problems you face with are different, right? Early days, it could be, you can't figure out sales. And then later on, oh my God, my VP of sales just quit. What do I do? Right. And so the nature of what you're dealing with changes, but it's a constant roller coaster on a daily basis. And especially if you are running a venture-backed company, that all of that is just amplified by how much money you've actually raised, because that requires constant speed and to achieve those outsized returns and acceleration, right? And so that's the journey I've been on, and with a lot of hooray moments and a lot of oh my God, it's never gonna work moments. And so in a way, I think my exit was sort of similar, because I was so conditioned through that 8-year journey to effectively just really run my business. And so when exit happened, I actually almost didn't feel anything, because I kept running my business until the paperwork was done, until the money was wired, until we officially were introduced, and and sort of the company kind of became a part of another entity. So in a lot of ways, I had a delayed realization of that exit, because I was just so conditioned to not pay attention to anything other than building my business. And but with that, I think I started having, obviously learned a ton of what not to do, which is very important, and some of what to do, and learned a ton by not only reading and getting a lot of mentorship myself, which was extremely critical to success, both mentally persevering as well as actually knowing the know-how to build that startup. And then, as I exited, just founders started turning to me for some advice and guidance. And so that I didn't plan to start Elevator. Frankly, I wanted to take a little break, but it just
That's interesting.
that wasn't in the books, right? They just started coming, and I felt compelled to share the knowledge while it's hot, meaning there is so many changes that are happening all the time, right? The only constant is that change, especially when you are dealing with something as fast moving as technology. And so that's what compelled me to actually jump in, because I felt like as an operator, I had just so much knowledge, and that I wanted to bring to founders so they can grow faster and they can grow with more confidence and, frankly, more success, because most startups never make it.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's what were you going to do in your break that you had imagined?
Well, my daughter was suggesting a month at the beach, which
Okay.
it's like, Mom, are you crazy? What are you doing? Yeah, I don't know. I think there are a lot of things that you delay, right? Inevitably, I think as you just run this machine or fast train, right, and you're always saying, "Oh my gosh, if I just had time, if I just had time." And I think for me, what was delightful was to travel more, read more, not necessarily only, straight business books like, hey, I need to figure out PR tomorrow. Okay, today I read about PR, tomorrow I do PR, right? That's the kind of a startup life, especially in the early days. And so I wanted to, just kind of create space for myself, which, now is, I guess, a little bit delayed yet again.
Yes, the universe had different plans for you.
Yeah.
And usually those plans tend to be like bigger than, we originally see, which I think you do have this knowledge. You're obviously not a lot of women exit, not a lot of women that are immigrants exit. So you have so much knowledge that you could distill to founders that I think it's like at what point does it almost become like a duty,
Yeah, exactly. And I
right?
actually, reflecting on my journey, I started the company to, of course, solve an important problem with parent communication that I experienced myself. And I was really compelled to support parents and teachers in that critical partnership so every student can be successful. But as I look back at my experience, the thing that actually brought me a ton of pride is the kind of team that I've built and how amazingly these folks really grew with the company to take on new responsibilities, to start managing people, many millions of dollars in sort of success, customer success functions, sales functions, and many of them were teachers. So they came in with a very limited understanding of the business world, and they really stepped into their magic zone. And I think that a bit of that feeling is what I get from mentorship, when a lot of folks obviously going into there is no course in university that tells you how to be a great founder and CEO, right? And that constantly change. The moment you figure it out, everything changes and you need to figure it out yet again, right? And so that's why I think mentorship for founders is so critical. And I, sort of feel that high from
Yeah.
being part of their journey.
Yeah. And just I think even if you're a mentor to like let's just say if you're listening, you're not like an official mentor to anyone, like maybe it's your child or whatever, a friend. It always like there's no better feeling than helping someone do something that they couldn't previously do or
Exactly.
think a certain way. Like there's this watching someone almost grow before you, they have a new confidence or new knowledge and they are literally evolving in front of you. I think that's one of the most gratifying feelings ever.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's amazing, and I think at the end of the day, I think being a successful founder really requires a lot of strong held opinions, but also that humbleness and that openness to being mentored and getting that feedback, right? And I think that's really the folks I love supporting.
I love it. So let's talk about you're having a challenge this week and I think that it's framed around the foremost critical things that we're going to be talking about today. But before going into that, what type of founders should join this? Obviously, they should be a tech founder, should they be interested in raising? Should they have already raised? At what stage of their tech startup should they be in? Kind of give them some context.
Yeah, absolutely. So the program is for early stage software and perhaps broadly online founders, right? Which means that you can exponentially scale without needing a lot, the same number of people to grow. Founders who are in the early stages, meaning that they have an idea, maybe prototype or early product in market, so they can start deploying that, various growth strategies and other things we're talking about. So that's and then lastly, willing to put in the work, right? Some folks are asking me, how much work does the challenge requires? Well, it actually requires no work, because that's the work you should be doing anyway, right? You should be, addressing all of these 4 elements as you go about your day. So it's effectively an hour every morning, Tuesday through Friday this week. So starting tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern. And I'm very excited. I spent actually the weekend putting in finishing touches, and the program is really, really great.
Yes. And as someone who, I've spent a little bit of time with you, I could definitely say, if you're listening, if you're the type of person that wants to be around other people that take action and just get better and better and better, I'd highly advise that you join. If you're the type of person that is a little bit on the not going to want to put in the work side, I would stay away, because a lot of, you talk, you not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk in all facets of your life. So let's go into the 4 critical parts of this. So you've kind of designed this to include like the 4 core things that founders should be focused on in 2024. So what is the first one?
Yeah. So the first one is called building a killer product. So that's day 1 focus. But we are actually not going to be talking about building a product, actually writing a code and features, because that's almost an easier part. The more difficult part is figuring out what is that who, right? Sort of focusing on who is the ideal customer, ideal persona, and how to really narrow that down. What is their hair on fire problem? And then we'll talk about the how. And the how is, of course, then the actual delivery of how the problem is solved with the product, as well as go to market as well. So that's going to be day 1, because I honestly, like, you have an early product, but you can never be really married to that product. You have to have, as they say, strong opinions loosely held, right? You have to constantly iterate to sift through a lot of noise and know how to notice that signal. So that's what day 1 is all about, with a very actionable assignment to help you document your key hypothesis about customer value proposition. And in the actual mentorship, we go much deeper into sort of how to start testing it, but that would by itself give tremendous value to founders.
And without that, you don't become profitable and have a real business.
Yeah, well, let alone profitable, you don't get traction, right? I think in startups, and depending again on your funding model, you might want to be found profitable early or later, or maybe even never, even though the never part starts to go away with the economic climate we're in. But you really need to build a product that has the pull from a good market, right? And it means that it resonates deeply and people want to pay for it, right? One of the mistakes I made as an early stage founder, and hundreds of people are doing right this moment as we speak, is they don't ask the right questions. They're not asking for commitment. They're just looking to get that validation that their idea is great. And it might feel good at the moment, but that's you're not doing yourself a favor going this way.
I love it. What's the second thing?
So day 2 is really focused on growth hacking. I called it, sort of as a fancy word, but really it's about how you get that early growth and doing things that don't scale, right? It's not yet about sort of scalable, repeatable processes, and all of these things that you need to really get beyond 10K MRR. But for early stage founders, there are a lot of strategies that one can use to sort of growth hack and get those first customers to trust you and get on board with you. So we'll go through that. What's really exciting to me, and I'm a real fan of all the advancements with AI, is that a lot of things that in the past were not scalable, they sort of are still not scalable in nature, but they can be now scalable with AI. And in both sort of in the research part as well as in kind of the growth hacking part, we'll talk about some very practical applications that can really give you wings as a founder, and really support you. And by the way, the growth hacking part is still applicable even if you already have some first paying customers. So it's not necessarily focused on how to get your first 5 customers, but it's on that kind of below 100K MRR side where you still need to iterate and test different strategies.
And are those things like sending an email or checking in on a customer or sending them a gift? Like, what are some examples of things that can be scaled?
You're curious now, huh?
Yeah. Oh, I'm always curious.
Well, those things, yes, but it's more than that, right? It is about sort of how do you do it in a scalable way, how you personalize and scale, how do you leverage other people's audiences for your advantage, how do you leverage your network and make it easy, how do you find places where your customers are so you can get in front of them pretty much for free. And then how you leverage AI to create that, content stream, but also train it to be effectively the persona, and how you can actually talk as if it's your persona. It's actually mind-blowingly good.
Yeah. And I want to mention something because I know a little bit about kind of what you shared with me, is that one of your skill sets is outbound email.
Right.
And I heard your conversation with Shankar, and it's so true. Like when you're building, I think all founders should build their personal brand, but like you said, it takes time. Brand is something like a relationship. Trust isn't built overnight. It takes time. You're going to have to do it repeatedly. But something that in any economic climate, in any environment, in anything that you have control over is how many messages you could send, whether it's text, email, like whatever, but you have full control over that. I would think that the nuance is like how you approach someone and all that. But I think that if a founder has no type of influence, like they could start there and obviously
get early traction.
You're a master at that. So I'm saying that because if someone's in that situation, you probably have templates that work. You know how to approach. That's one of your skills.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there is one other element here, which is the mindset, right? I work with a lot of technical founders who don't want to bother people, and they, right, sales is not necessarily their skill set. I truly believe in founder-led sales. So someone on your founding team needs to be that salesperson, maybe even if they haven't done sales before, but they have sort of that personality that sort of lands to it better. No one you can possibly hire wants you to succeed as much as you do. So that's why you need to acquire these skills, right? And and that, like I share this example is I've never done sales directly actually before I started my company, but then every sales test I needed to run, I was just picking up the phone and calling, whomever I needed to call, or I figure out how to really scale this with these personalized emails at scale that are relevant. Because in a way, if you really believe that you are giving value to your customers who have the pain, then what you're doing is an amazing service by getting in front of them in their inbox or on the phone and telling them about this opportunity for them. You're almost, if you're not doing it, then, you're really hurting them, because if they really need what you created, then, why are you not in front of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and people do it all the time without realizing it. Like if there's like the next best restaurant in your town, you're probably gonna call a friend or someone that lives close to you and tell them about it just because you don't want them to miss out on the opportunity of having a good meal or whatever. And that's true. I think that the best founders really just have that belief that
Right.
they, their thing is good and it's going to help people. They may not be the best communicators, but sometimes you don't have to be if you really have that belief and are willing to listen and just get
Right.
better and better.
Yeah, and by the way, the same works with investors, right? So now on sort of the other side as an exit founder, when I listen to investors, and they very transparently tell me it's like why folks are not able to raise, and the reason why they were not able to raise is that because one of the reasons is that they didn't have this undeniable crazy confidence that the future of what they're building is already here, right? That confidence and where you already lean in and live there, right? And so
Mhm.
that goes a long way with that's why mindset is such a critical part of this journey.
I love it. What's day 3?
So day 3 is that's a good question. Day 3 is focused on following the money. So I talk about follow the money, and so we'll really dive into business models, because in a way, even if you know what problem you're solving, for whom or for whom and what, right? It's always who first, right? The customer. You need to figure out how to sort of skin the cat, right? How exactly you gonna really monetize this, right? And there are software as a service subscription models, there are marketplace kind of models, there are transactional sort of e-commerce models, there are advertising models, there are a variety of different models. They all have different economics, different pros and cons, and so it's really important to understand what business you're building, right? Because for now you focus on finding a problem, creating a solution, getting some early traction, but you really need to know what are the blueprints for your business, right? So to give you an example, if you're in a transactional business, you better have millions of people that you will transact with you. Otherwise, you have no business because you take a small sliver of that. If you're in B2B SaaS business, you don't need necessarily thousands of people, right? If your average contract value is really high, you can build a nice business pretty quickly just scaling through those enterprises, but they all have different implications for for your scale and the who you need on the team and sort of the profile of the business. So that's going to be day 3. And then lastly, day 4 is really focused on I initially thought about fundraising, but what I really want to focus on is really broader lessons from idea to exit, because I think that it is so important for founders to have a perspective, right, and see the forest from the trees, right? I think that's
Mhm.
one of the challenges is when you're in this daily grind, you just stop sort of seeing the bigger picture. And so I really wanted to share my lessons through the journey as an inspiration for folks to set clear goals, clear milestones based on the foundation that we've built in the first 3 days.
I love it. And where can people go to register?
It's elevatorlab.com/challenge.
I'm gonna bring it on the screen. Hold on.
Great.
And again, if you're in SaaS, if you're a startup, I mean, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Will they be able to ask you questions, Vlada? They
Yeah,
show up?
absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll have about 30 to 45 minutes content. And then they can post questions, and it's starting in 20 hours. I can't wait.
I
I'm so
love
excited.
it. So day 1, building a killer product. Day 2, advanced growth hacks. Day 3, monetization. Day 4, broad lessons / fundraising. And it's going to be taught by Vlada. We're going to put the link in the description so that you can register. And
Amazing.
again, I think if you're in the startup world and if you're in SaaS, if you're a tech company, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. What lessons do you think, Vlada? Last question before we go. What's one lesson do you think a non-SaaS business can learn from a tech company, from a SaaS company?
Yeah, I think one lesson is really thinking in systems, because even if you are not looking to scale exponentially, you are always better off um, productizing a lot of things you're doing, right? Once you see that something that works, and I'm sure you're doing that in your
Yeah.
business every day, right? When you, with the courses and mentorship and everything, right? It's just thinking about sort of the input, the mechanism, and the output, and so that's the, you know, I think that's the tech kind of mentality that's
Yeah,
very
we'll have
attractive.
a whole live on that. We'll
Yeah.
have a whole live on that one day. And then vice versa, maybe what tech founders can learn from non-tech companies, you know.
Yeah, I
So,
think it. Yeah, I think so. That would be
yeah.
amazing.
I know Vlada has to go. Her time is super valuable. Thank you everyone for joining. God bless you. And the link will be in the description. Ciao.